Hello, my name is Terry Sacka, and you are watching The Wealth Transfer, where protecting and preserving your family's wealth for the things that are getting ready to come is paramount, knowledge being that. We're going to go into now a new series of programs that are going to show you actual timelines in all of our recent history of your buying power. What things used to cost, how it works, and what assets best position you to be prepared for the future when this really takes a big change. I am along with Dr. Charles Vance, and you are ready to go.
Hey, do you know, you're talking about, we're going to get into this because I know some of these numbers are crazy. What things used to cost, but we didn't make as much money back then either, did we?
What you're going to see is the ratio of our increased salaries do not meet up to the ratio of increased costs.
So people are really not living, people that are working, are not living as well as people that were 20, 30 years ago that were working.
That's right, and that's the biggest lie. I remember lawyers and economists, people, you know, they used to really get in my grill about that. Oh, well, we make a lot more money. Yeah, but if you actually look at how much more you make versus the increase in buying power, you realize, no, our standard of living changed. There was a time where, you know, back in the day, which we'll get into, that shows that a kid could go to college, they could own a car, they could pay their way through, not have massive debt, they could have their own place, get out, actually go and have a family, and everything you can get by. It could be decent. Today, you couldn't even begin to do that, and you leave college with massive six-figure deficits. And so there is just no comparison on what we could do and what we're doing now. So, I mean, it goes into some of this scripture. It really, you know, helps you understand how to recognize.
One of the big things, you know, we've been talking the last few weeks about the importance of preparation if something huge takes place to the economy, but even if something huge doesn't take place, even if the economy would just continue the way it is, we still need to be a diligent enough people that we make preparation for our future. We've seen too many people. I've grown up seeing too many people that have not prepared for their future, and they're 80 years old and they're still working a job somewhere, just trying to scrape through, just trying to make some money. We shouldn't have to be in a situation like that. We shouldn't find ourselves in a position like that if we make preparation regardless of where we are, what's going on in our life, what the state of the economy is. We need to make preparation. Am I right?
If we would have been doing that all along.
You keep your hand out of my side of the picture while I'm talking.
I was so excited when you were saying that. I'm thinking of this dollar. I'm like, give me that dollar, give me that dollar, because this is so amazing. If people would recognize, and we're going to get into some heavy illustration of this, Charles, this dollar is not really a dollar, mind you, right? It says Federal Reserve note.
The dollar has a definition.
Yes, and we talked about that. This is a Federal Reserve note. Look in your wallet. It's not a dollar. It's a Federal Reserve note. Now, that is a note. Think of what a note is.
I owe you.
I owe you something.
How are you going to pay with it? How are you going to pay? What are you going to pay? Because most people will pick up another one of these to pay you for the IOU.
You have to do something.
They have. What do you?
Or you have to take it from somebody to do it, right? Because where is it coming from? It has to come from somebody.
So the only value really that our paper currency has is the value that it has in your mind to trade me something for it. Or what we call sell you something for it.
And you know what I would do, I don't know if the sprinkler system would go off in here, is I'd like to set one of these on fire. Just to show, because this is literally how valuable a dollar is. It's set on fire, it's gone, right? Try setting this on fire. Can't.
Well, with anything tangible, and we've talked about this before, God products. You know, if you believe in Genesis chapter 1 and God created everything, anything God created retains tangible value because you can't get rid of it. You know, science tells us that you can't eliminate something. All you can do is change it. Even if you burn something, if you burn the paper, it turns to gases or something. The things that God created remains. Now, the dollar or the currency,
the reserve
note, it doesn't retain any value to do that.
No, it's lost almost all of it.
Yeah.
And this is where we're going to go with these shows, you know, here is we're going to show this comparison. Now, remember, this one actually that I'm holding, I don't want that one. That's the Federal Reserve note, and I don't want that one. This is an actual real U.S. dollar, and it says silver certificate on the top. I love this because this real U.S. dollar is what the dollar was, meaning in Greek it's thayer, grains of silver. This was a silver certificate. You take this to the bank, and they exchanged it for a silver ounce.
Now that was the law. Of course, you're playing with a big one. This was an ounce, but that was the law, that they had to exchange it for that. The banking system is the people that came up with this.
Correct. Remember how we left off the show last week talking about the elites, how they control the world. Now, it's just the way it is. I personally don't think we're changing it a whole lot because most people are not going to want to sacrifice the accommodation. I think it's going to be forced on us. So if we're not prepared to handle, if we're not prepped and I say prepped only in the sense that if we're not in the right assets and preparing properly, we will not have the standard of living even remotely what we think we're having. Matter of fact, we don't now, right? Look how many people dipping into their retirements.
We talked a little bit last week about Joseph and how many people know that Bible story, how that Joseph interpreted the Pharaoh's dream. And the dream was there's going to be 7 years of plenty, and then there's going to be 7 years of famine. And the key is Joseph said, you need to find somebody with a lot of wisdom to prepare for that 7 years of famine while you have plenty. And the king said, listen, if you interpret the dream and you're the one telling me about this stuff, you would be the guy to do this. And Joseph did an absolutely amazing job.
Doing what?
At storing up, preparing for times to come.
Yes.
Now, again, see, Terry, let me tell you what the average person thinks. Because before I met you, or several years before I met you, I've been into this thinking for a long time. But many years ago, I used to think, well, shoot, it's not any big, it's going. Everything keeps going.
It'll get better sooner or later, right?
And it'll come out, or we'll just keep going, or we'll live the way we are, and nothing's going to change. But the fact is, everything keeps changing, financially, materially,
morally, spiritually.
It's all changing. Yes. And if we don't make some preparation, even if things were to continue just like they're going in the same method that they're going, if people don't make some sort of preparation for their future, for their retirement, if you want to pass on an inheritance, there's not going to be anything for somebody to inherit if we don't make preparation.
Yes.
Because it's all going to be eaten up. It's going to be consumed.
And the sad thing is, Charles, we should have been doing it all along.
Absolutely. We've not been taught to do it.
I know. We've been deceived.
We don't have a class in school.
No. You know, a matter of fact, I was told the other day, I was having a conversation with a lovely lady the other day, happened to be my wife, and she was telling me about a friend of hers, highly educated lady, highly educated, mind you, in the systems of the world, highly educated. Do you know she didn't even know what the gold standard was? So here she's gone through major education in the university system, business degree, and doesn't know the gold standard. Doesn't know this was our money. And now that is by design, so you don't realize your buying power has been stripped away. Because remember, in the 60s, this was exchanged. You'd get your silver, and they were equal. They both bought you equal amount of product because they were the same. And let's start illustrating this, because when you see what's coming, the next reckoning, like Charles said, even if it's not the whole spiritual event, which I think I'm going to wait until then before judgment, right? Just by nature, if we would have been in this all along, just 10 years ago, this $100,000 10 years ago, maybe worth $70,000. Today, it's worth $400,000 in buying power. And that we want to illustrate. Because if you're not in the right asset going forward, we in the body of Christ are going to be so marginalized, and we're going to sit back and wonder, how did we go with our life savings barely buying a standard of living, nothing like we thought? How do we get started in something like that? How do we do it? Get educated, and this is some way you can.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.
How we want to go about this is let's start in the 60s, because the 60s actually is when we had the big spiritual revolution and when we had the big, huge, new age, demonic attack all the way through the hippie era. It's unbelievable how there's that, both sides. But from the 60s is when we're going to start this, because we're all pretty much from that area. Those in retirement definitely. So, let's start there in our comparisons. Just for instance, this first image, number 2. This is just a simple little thing. We used to go to the movies in the 60s, and here's what it would cost us. Not much, huh? Think about this. We got 60 cents for an adult ticket, right? Okay, you can take that off.
That was a little bit more than that last time I went to the movie.
Right, $10 or something, right? So that's in the 60s. Now, mind you, in the 60s, these were equal. Let's keep this in comparison. As we go through these comparisons, keep in mind, they were equal. So when I say 60 cents for the movie ticket, that's what it cost you. You could go to the movies on this dollar. It was no problem. You can go to the movies with this. No problem. Today, you go to the movies, it's $10 a ticket on average, right? It takes 10 of these. Do you know you can go to the movie today and buy 2 tickets with this? Right? Okay, so let's go to the next image, number 4. This is what it bought you in the 60s for gasoline. That's a real live take. All said and done, all in, about 20 cents. You can take that off, and they used to wash and do all sorts of stuff to your cars.
It's scary that I can remember that.
I know. I can't. Sorry, Charles. I was on a bike.
Yeah, I understand.
I think I was on a green machine or a big wheel maybe at that point. But
well, I was a kid, but I actually remember driving by gas stations. I remember one station was 19 cents a gallon. It was a discount gas station.
Yep.
19 cents.
Now, that's 20 cents a gallon.
And that was in the 60s, early
Now, think
60s.
about it. This dollar back then bought you 5 gallons of gas. This bought you 5 gallons of gas. So as we're doing the comparison here, we have 5 gallons of gas, 5 gallons of gas. See? Now, here we are today, currently. I go and I sell my ounce of silver. I can buy not only the same 5 gallons of gas as I did back then, I can buy twice as much. Twice as much. I can buy almost 9 gallons of gas right now with my silver ounce. If I would have left my hard-earned savings in our constitutional money, that's where I'd be. How much gas can you buy? Right? Not even a quarter of a tank, maybe?
Quarter of a gallon, you
power.
mean?
A gallon,
Yeah.
Buying power, the ability to buy something. Remember, this is not money like you think it is. Now, this one was, but the Federal Reserve notes are not. So let's go to this next image just to illustrate this from the 60s. Image number 5. Now, this is kind of a flyer from a grocery store. Now, think about that, for instance. Look at those prices. Butter, 58 cents. The butter I buy now, albeit it may be organic, it's $6 for a couple things of it. Look at the ground beef, 3 pounds, $1. Pork, look at the prices there. Baby, I mean, it's unbelievable what things used to buy. Let's take one of those, for instance, like ground beef. That 3 pounds for $1, that would blow you away. Okay, take that off. Let's give it this way.
What is it now, about 4 pounds?
Oh, this is crazy.
$4 for
that was 3
pound?
pounds $1, right? I used to buy you 3 pounds of beef. They were equal. They both did. Today, I sell this. I can buy a tremendous amount of beef with the same amount, or with this. How much can you buy with this? You can't even buy any beef with it. Maybe a hot dog, right? I mean, really, what a dramatic...
We're not sure if that's beef.
Well, I get beef dogs. I like beef dogs.
I'm kidding.
So, but think about it. You can't even buy a hot dog with it now. Buying power. Save this or save this. What gives you the best advantage, right? This is really important to see through this. Now, let's go to the next image here real quick and kind of... Now, this is something I think a lot of us are familiar with, right? Image number 6. I was Good old McDonald's. When I grew up, I think it was actually real food. I mean, like, it wasn't chemicals or anything. But look at the prices there. You got hamburgers at 15 cents.
I remember 15 cents.
Look at milkshakes at 22 cents. Let's go with the cheeseburger at 20 cents. Okay, let's do that. Cheeseburger at 20 cents. Okay, let's take that off. This bought you 5 cheeseburgers in the 60s. This bought you 5 cheeseburgers in the 60s. Today, you can get a cheeseburger. They're kind of like, I think they go for like $1 now, right?
Yeah, about $1, I think.
But they're definitely not the same quality. They're thinner, they're marginalized, they're smaller. But with this, I can buy 17 cheeseburgers right now when I could have only bought 5 back in the day. 5 back in the day. I could buy 17 now. You could buy 1 now. Buying power.
Now
Do you want 1 cheeseburger or 17 cheeseburgers? What are you storing your retirement in, you see? Very important.
See, there's a reason for this that most people don't understand. And I'd like, if I can just jump in for a second, I want people to go on the internet and see if what we're saying about the Federal Reserve notes are true. Because for the first time I heard this, I thought that's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. First of all, I thought this was government. I thought the government made this. The government doesn't make this. The Federal Reserve banking system, a bunch of bankers make this. The richest folks in the world control our banking system, and they're printing and printing and printing.
Trillions.
When these equaled, these were the exchange for the same. When they kept printing this, they kept dropping because there was more of these.
Yes.
That's why this keeps going down in value. That's why this retains and even is more valuable now, because they have printed so much of this. All people have to do is look on, you can look on the Federal Reserve Bank, Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is not the federal government. Look on the Federal Reserve's website. They tell you all this stuff. It's not like they're trying to hide it.
They're not hiding it. And I think that's a very good point, that the reason this is taking place, because they print a lot of these. And recently, since 2008, they've printed trillions. We can't even comprehend a trillion.
No.
But we can comprehend. What I do like is this gets so convoluted because we haven't been able to see the connection. How can we not see the connection when we see our ability to actually buy something? Forget what it's valued at. What does it get you? Go to this image 6A. Here's another example of it. Let's keep doing this. I want this to really sink in. 1962, hamburger cost you 20 cents. 2011, it cost you $1. Look at the difference in price in dollars. If you had silver, you're buying 17 hamburgers, right? Go to the next image, 6B. 1962, milk cost you 50 cents a gallon. Today, it's $4 a gallon. Now, mind you, that is $4 a gallon today alone. You could get for $1, back in the 60s, 2 gallons of milk. Today, you can't even get a quarter of a gallon. This is enormous. Take that off for just a moment. Milk is a big deal. A lot of people drink milk. Back in the 60s, this bought you 2 gallons of milk. Back in the 60s, this bought you 2 gallons of milk. Today, I go and sell this because I stored this instead of the paper. Today, I go and sell this. Do you know I can buy 4 gallons of milk with this today?
Terry.
How many gallons can you buy with this? Not even a quart.
Hardly.
Not even a quart.
Most people ask this question that have never owned any silver or gold or had a few coins around but never done anything. What do I do with this? If I need to buy some milk, how can I go buy some milk? Because I can't take this to the grocery store.
There are actually plenty of grocery stores all throughout the country that, not the main chains, but smaller ones, they take silver. They weigh it out and give you credit.
What does the average person do with this?
Average people, what they do is they store it either privately in the vaults. A lot of them, they store it in retirement accounts. I'm mainly dealing with trying to protect. Most of us have the bulk investment, all of our hard-earned wealth, in retirement accounts. We've been kind of brainwashed to go into the stock market, the bond market, the stock market, the bond market. That's where our IRAs are, our 401ks are. The majority of our wealth is in the market system, and that's what's been feeding the Wall Street billionaires, and they've been getting rich, and we've been getting marginalized through our buying power.
Isn't that system as fake as the currency system?
There is no doubt that system is rigged like you don't know. There is not one title actually owned. You own a stock. You don't own title in a company. You don't own title to that bond. You don't own anything when you're in those markets. You don't own anything. You don't even own this. This is owned by the Federal Reserve. Old U.S. dollars, which President Kennedy was trying to take us back to, conveniently he got eliminated. You know what I mean? Old U.S. dollars, these good old U.S. dollars, nobody had attachment to. Why? Because you can't print this, you can't fake it, you can't make it. If we don't get educated and properly protect our IRAs and retirements, where the majority of our wealth, our hard-earned life savings are, we will be in a disastrous position the next market cycle, which I contend is coming quickly. And if we're not prepared for this next crash, watch out, because our buying power is going to be just decimated. How do we do it? Here's some information on how to get started.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.
Now, the reason I went to the retirement accounts is because that is where majority, next to our home, majority of our assets are held, is we the people typically. There are a lot of folks, though, that just have currency in the bank and even smaller increment amounts. I mean, I see people that buy 1 or 2 ounces of these. Where do you go? What do you do with this stuff? Sell it. You could sell them at pawn shops. You could sell them to jewelers. You could sell them to other coin dealers that deal with that kind of stuff. I mean, we're actually refiners and minters. We're in a different side of this. We actually mint a true Judeo-Christian market certified purity, which is the highest level you can get. But you could sell it to actual coin dealers. See, we're not coin dealers, but we do buy the obviously.
And you can get what's called spot price out of it. You can get what the market value of this.
It all
generally
depends where you go, but yes, you can go to a refinery in your area and sell this. But the thing is, you can sell it and convert it to currency.
Right.
Or you can exchange it. But the point is, when you sell it, it just goes to the paper money, and then you do your transaction. It's extremely easy to do. There's plenty of people who will buy silver all day long.
That was the point that I wanted to make. It's just easy. Most people that would think, well, if I'm going to buy some of this, bring it home, what would I do with it in case that I need to buy something? We can just exchange it very simply.
Well, the bigger point, too, is remember, this is money.
Oh, exactly.
These are money.
Sure.
You don't even have to exchange it for paper. There are plenty of people and institutions that can take this as money. And remember, there's no law saying you have to use this for transactions. You can pay in chickens if you want. The key is, and this is the important part, if I'm a business and I'm bartering in chickens, like you come up and give me chickens for business, I have to account for that in a value for taxation purposes. So from that aspect, that's the only thing. The government doesn't say you have to use this. You can use anything you want. You can exchange books. You can exchange car parts. The point is you just
bartering.
Bartering, but the thing is, if you do stuff like that, you do have to account for valuation for taxation. It's just the way it is. We're gonna do that till the day we die, right? So let's come up from the 60s, and let's now go to 1971 when we came off the gold standard. This is when we started the Federal Reserve note. In 1971, in the 70s, this is now what your paper dollar bought you versus the silver. So let's go to image number 3. And this is the beginning in the 70s now, almost like 10 years later. Where do you see this? How big of a difference in just 10 years? Average income maybe $10,000. A new car, $3,500. Average rent, so forth. You start to see. Look at the college cost. $2,600 a year to go to Harvard back then. Movie tickets now $1.50 when they used to be 60 cents. Gasoline's now 40 cents when it used to be 20 cents. Do you see where we're going? It's already doubled in your buying power. So you get an idea there, and look at all the food costs back then, but look at the difference. Now you can take that off, because this is interesting. Just from this note alone, from the 60s to the 70s, gas doubled in cost. So you lost half of your buying power in 10 years from the 60s to the 70s. Yet, if I owned this in the 70s, when they took it off the paper dollar, this bought me 3 gallons of gas back in the day because of it coming off the dollar. So it already immediately started buying me more than this. It's pretty extraordinary. So let's go to the next one here. Now now we're in the 70s. Let's go to image number 1. This is back leading up into the 90s now. Let's jump up another 20-some years. Look at this, $20 bill in the 90s, 1998. That grocery cart bought you that much food. 2005, 7 years later, look how much food. In 2013, look at what $20 bought you just in this short period of time.
You'd think we'd be thinner, wouldn't you?
You think we'd be thinner, except they're making more chemicals, and that's how you can take that off. And let me kind of end on this. And we're going to go into this more in comparisons, and I'm going to show you some really interesting ones that are going to just really shake you to your core. But and I know what Charles was saying, you know how they got away with that? Not only do we buy less, as you've seen in that illustration, but they're replacing real food, real ingredients with GMO chemicals. It's fake. Half of the food we eat is fake. That is how they're doing it. And they're marginalizing the sizes. I know my father-in-law used to say, this potato chip bag is getting smaller, and I'm still paying the same price, but they're giving me less chips. I said, that's called stealth inflation. They say we don't have inflation. I'm showing you right now, we all know the buying power does. This has sustained the buying power. Continue to seek truth. We're going to continue this comparison next week. You're going to love where we're going with this. And if you haven't made Jesus Christ the center of your life, ask Him. Let that truth set you free. God bless you.
If you know someone that doesn't get these broadcasts, you can tell them about our website at cornerstoneassetmetals.com. They can view these programs on demand. Terry and I are going to be back next week, same place and same time. We'll see you right here for the Wealth Transfer.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.